Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and presentation of colors by the Navy Junior Reserves Officer Training Corps, followed by a moment of silence. Present colors. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join us in a moment of silence as we reflect on those serving in the United States Armed Forces, both past and present, the elected leaders for the state of Pennsylvania, and elected leaders of our nation. We have much to be thankful for in our community. Color Guard, please post colors.
Ready, face, forward, march.
Please be seated. Item 3, executive session announcement. The Board of School Directors met on the following dates in executive session to discuss items in one or more of the following areas: personnel or legal matters on October 11th, 2021. Item 4, Superintendent's report. Dr. Stout.
Thank you, Madam President. I believe this evening we're going to start with our Student Government Executive Council report. So Sarah, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, good evening, everyone. At East Coventry, students in grades 4 through 6 at East Coventry are beginning their work on this year's science research competition. Students are deciding what they wish to investigate and developing their research plan, which includes their hypothesis and identifying their variables. The school's competition will be held in late January. On October 7th, the East Coventry PTA hosted their annual Fall Fest. This year, the event was held at Colonial Gardens. Families had a chance to enjoy a hayride, going through the mazes, and picking pumpkins. At East Vincent, on October 1st, the East Vincent PTA hosted its annual Fall Festival. There were lots of games, prizes, and tons of food for families to enjoy. The DJ was rocking some sweet tunes, and parents and students were dancing the night away. Additionally, at the Fall Fest, the East Vincent community dedicated the newly built pavilion in memory of Jake Rowley. The entire night was filled with joy, celebration, beautiful weather, and positive memories were made. Extremely grateful to the East Vincent PTA for its continued efforts in making East Vincent the place to be. At French Creek, the school year is in full swing, and French Creek students are enjoying the start of after-school activities, including intramurals, Run 101, and Odyssey of the Mind. Exciting creativity opportunities are also taking place, including contests for designing this year's yearbook, designing pumpkins to represent a favorite storybook, and the annual PTA Reflections Contest. Also at French Creek, collections for Make a Difference Day are underway. And lastly, students are looking forward to a safe trick-or-treat night on Thursday, October 28th, hosted by French Creek teachers and staff. Excitement is also building for their annual Halloween parade and classroom parties scheduled for Friday, October 29th. At North Coventry, in conjunction with Bullying Prevention Month, North Coventry will be celebrating Unity Day on October 24th. On this specific day, staff and students will be encouraged to wear orange and show unity for kindness, acceptance, and inclusion. Together, we can work towards a world without bullying. We would also like to congratulate the following students that were chosen by their teacher for being respectful to their classmates, teachers, and school during the first half of October. Congratulations to Kate Hoffman, Ryan Gottwals, Olana Esposito, Riley Badler, Kira Zimmerer, Euthali Dennis, Alexis Longwig, Emily Riker, Luke Marburger, Ben Buffler, Paul Sklakowski, Matthew Detweiler, and Ryan Rumler. Also, congratulations to Mrs. Schwenk, Ms. Ruzini, Mrs. Bolin, and Mr. Zerga's classroom for earning the North Coventry Special Area Award for the month. These students were recognized for being kind to their classmates and also demonstrating teamwork. At West Vincent, we'd like to thank the generosity of the OGR Education Foundation. Each family at West Vincent Elementary received a copy of the book Wish Tree by Catherine Applegate. Themes from the book, such as inclusion, acceptance, kindness, and friendship, will be used throughout the school year. As you walk into your school lobby, you will find the West Vincent Wish Tree. Each leaf of the tree displays wishes from the school year from faculty and staff members. It is surrounded by decorated paw prints created by each West Vincent family. The family paw prints display a story using pictures, words, poems, and photographs, and relate to their family history. The West Vincent PTA is looking forward to hosting virtual bingo for the whole school community on Friday, October 15th. It is a fun way for students to connect outside of the school day. At the middle school, the annual middle school fundraiser has kicked off, and students are excited to participate and win some of the cool prizes and rewards that are being offered for participating. On Friday, October 8th, students in the middle school Leo Club went to Wecklenware to plant trees and break up a dam that was created by some beavers. The Leo Club is also leading the efforts to collect canned good, non-perishable items, and personal care supplies for the Coventry Food Pantry as part of our annual Make a Difference Day efforts. Students who bring in items receive a vote to determine which teacher they would like to see get pied in the face. Middle school students participated in a Spirit Week this past week in recognition of Homecoming Week. Next week, we will be recognizing our first group of Wildcat Pride winners this school year. These students were selected by their teachers for their personification of O.N.J. Roberts Middle School Pride. Each month, a new group of students is selected, and they are recognized with a ceremony in their honor along with an OGR Middle School t-shirt and certificate. The middle school PTA is planning a tailgate for middle school students and families prior to the home game coming on Friday, October 29th. At the high school, Leo Club has 200 students registered to participate this year. They have already completed 90 hours of volunteering and are set up to volunteer at 12 more upcoming events in the next 6 weeks. The OGR band hosted their 50th anniversary band cavalcade on Saturday, October 2nd. It was a wonderful day and one of the most well-attended cavalcades ever. Over 200 of our OJR band alumni returned to participate as part of our grand finale at the end, which features students from every participating school, over 1,200 musicians, performing together on the field. Thank you to the OGR School Board and to our entire community for always supporting our music program. And finally, at the Cyber Academy, Elementary Cyber Academy had another material pickup on October 13th, and school pictures took place on October 16th. Families are receiving communications from their home schools for after-school activities that their children can participate in to be with their peers. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Next, we're going to move on to student recognition, and tonight we're recognizing the National Merit Scholarship semifinalists and the students who received letters of commendation. Mr. Kohler, the high school principal, is here to introduce the students.
Good evening. So I'm very excited to be here this evening. On behalf of the high school, we're going to celebrate the outstanding achievements of our National Merit Scholarship semifinalists and commended student recognition recipients. The National Merit Scholarship Program is a national academic competition for high school students to provide financial aid to attend college. It is administered by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. Students qualify for the National Merit Program by achieving a high score on the PSAT. Commended students are named based on a nationally applied selection index score that may vary from year to year, though it typically represents the top 2 to 4% of PSAT test takers in a state. These students become candidates for special scholarships sponsored by corporations and businesses. This year we have 9 commended students. I'd like to do a brief introduction of each student, as in addition to their great PSAT scores, each offers significantly more to our school community. So we have several students who are either not in attendance this evening or who are joining us by Zoom, and I'm going to start with those students. So first is Amelia Erb. Amelia is involved in activities like ice hockey, field hockey, and the student newspaper, The Gavel, and she plans to attend a 4-year college after graduation. Our second recipient is Madison Kylie Flamiano. She's involved in activities like National Honor Society and the varsity swim team, and plans to major in math or finance at a 4-year university in the Philadelphia area upon graduation. Our third recipient is Celia Kerr. She's involved in activities like dance, choir, and Mu Alpha Theta, and plans to major in math in college and hopes to become a math professor. Our fourth recipient is Sydney Smith, who is involved in Alt House Arboretum Corps, mock trial, and the Geography Bee, and plans to pursue archaeology at a 4-year college. Our fifth recipient is Anna Subik. She's involved in activities like Odyssey of the Mind and the OJR School Productions, and plans to pursue a degree from a 4-year university upon graduation. Our sixth recipient is Cole Swarchek. He's involved in cross-country and the Computer Science Honor Society, and plans to run in college while majoring in computer science with a minor in computer engineering. Our seventh recipient is Kushal Bantu. He's involved in activities like basketball, both at OJR and outside of school, and volunteers as a tutor throughout the community. And he plans to attend a highly recognized university to pursue a career in medicine. Our next recipient is Anat Pothakamuri. He's involved in activities like student government, the Leo Club, and the varsity swim team, and plans to go to college with a major in chemical engineering and go on to medical school to be an anesthesiologist. And then in person this evening, I'd like to invite Matthew Kwiatkowski up to the front of the room. So Matthew is involved in activities like cross-country and track and plans to move on to college after graduation. And we have a certificate here for you, Matthew. Congratulations. You're welcome. Next up are our semifinalists. So semifinalists are the highest scoring entrants in each state. Qualifying scores vary from state to state and from year to year, though they typically represent the top 1% to 2% of test takers across the state. These students receive scholarship application materials through the National Merit Scholarship, and to be considered for a National Merit Scholarship, semifinalists must advance to finalist standing in the competition by meeting high academic standards and all other requirements explained in the information that's been provided to our semifinalists. This year we have 4 semifinalists. So our first is Grayson Kurth. Grayson is a member of activities like mock trial and the OJR football team, and plans to major in psychology in college and then moving on to pursue either a career in law or medicine. Our second recipient, I'd like to invite Logan Cheney up to the front of the room. Logan is a member of our STEAM Club and a volunteer at the PACS Food Bank. He plans to pursue a career in business at a 4-year university. And congratulations, Logan. Our third semifinalist is Praneeth Kucharlapati. I'd like to invite him up to the front. Praneeth is a member of activities like the OJR Tech Pack and the National Honor Society, and plans to attend a 4-year university to pursue a degree in medicine. Congratulations. And our fourth recipient is Morgan Weaver. Morgan is a member of activities like Kids for Kids and the girls soccer team, where she will be beginning their pursuit of a PAC title tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock. Morgan will attend Boston University in the fall, where she will major in engineering while continuing her soccer career as a member of the BU Terrier soccer team. Morgan, do you want to come up, please? Congratulations. And please join me in one more round of applause for all our commended students and for our semifinalists.
Thank you, Mr. Kohler. For my superintendent's report tonight, there are no retirees this month. On today's agenda, the board will accept the resignation of Ms. Christine Seeley, our cyber principal. We are pleased to announce that Mrs. Deb Susamuth has agreed to stay on as interim principal through the end of the 2021-2022 school year. This past weekend was homecoming. The Owen J. Roberts football team hosted Norristown on Friday night with a big win. And I also want to mention the band did one heck of a show at halftime, so I was thoroughly impressed with their performance as well. The game was followed by the Fall Into HOCO, Had to look that up today. That's the new abbreviation for homecoming that our students are using. But our homecoming dance on Saturday night at the Wildcat Stadium, not even the weather could dampen the excitement. Listening sessions have started and will continue through early December. Each building will offer an in-person session and a virtual session. Details will be sent from the building principals the week of their listening sessions. There will also be a general community listening session scheduled in December. These sessions encourage feedback and input from our community and families that we will use to help identify our district goals and priorities as we begin our comprehensive planning for the 2022-2023 school year. And so far, we've had 2 listening sessions these past 2 Wednesdays, and I was very pleased with the feedback that we've been getting from community members. The Chester County Health Department held its annual flu clinic at the Owen J. Roberts Middle School on October 4th. 472 people received their flu shots. A second flu clinic will be held at the middle school on October 25th. Details can be found on the district website and Facebook page. As a reminder, there is no school for students and staff on Thursday, November 4th, and the middle school is a designated poll location for the November 9th election. That's the wrong date, isn't it? The November 2nd election. Madam President, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Stout. All right, we're going to move on to item 5, which is public comment. Information, proposals, and statements from individuals or delegations pertaining to items on the agenda. Speakers are to indicate your name, township of residence, and the item on the agenda to which your comments are addressed. Speakers will be limited to not more than 3 minutes. Please understand that this is not a time for dialogue with the board. Rather, the board will listen to all comments and consider them in future deliberations. And then just as a reminder, our email address is listed as well for anyone who would like to receive a written response. And then a guideline for anyone on Zoom, if you would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand function. And when it's your turn to speak, just a reminder to state your name and township of residence and your agenda item.
Nobody on Zoom, Madam President.
So my name is Julia Harthway. I'm from North Coventry. If this is limited to agenda items, you spoke about the listening sessions. It was my understanding from previous meetings, those listening sessions were specifically to be on the equity policy. It sounds like it's been broadened to something different or more. Be nice to have an explanation of that. I also emailed and asked for a listing of all the listening sessions, dates, places, time. I was told to check with each school and that the community itself would have a different listening session. I think this should be open to everyone. They can go to anyone they want to. And I don't know why you would make it so difficult. Just give me a listing of the various sessions, what place they're located at, and the time. Thank you.
That's the end of public comment, Madam President.
All right, we're going to move on to item 6, which is the board committee reports. A working session was held on October 11th, 2021 at 6 p.m. The following committees met at this time: Curriculum and Special Education, Finance and Buildings and Grounds. Item 6.2, Finance and Buildings and Grounds Committee. Mrs. Booth.
Thank you, Madam President. Several items referencing buildings, finance, buildings, and grounds were discussed at length Monday, October 11th, during 2021's board working session. 2 projects are actionable items embedded within the district goals: the Giza project for energy savings and the district-wide service center, both impacting financial and operational efficiencies. The service center bid opening was held October 1st, 2021, following appropriate advertisement for 3 weeks in 2 different newspapers and had been addressed multiple times during public meetings. Both projects are actionable items this evening. Additionally, the time during public meetings, and addressed, sorry, I wrote that down twice. Additionally addressed during public meetings. Both projects are those action items. Additionally, the intergovernmental shared use agreement between O&J Roberts School District and East Coventry Township following the township's receipt of grant funding for walking trails. Additionally, I wish to highlight the receipt of $2 million of state Plan-Con reimbursement funds owed the district for several years following the closeout of the East Vincent Elementary Facilities Upgrade Project. These funds have been deposited into the Capital Reserve Funds. Finance, Buildings and Grounds Committee voting action items this evening, all is presented. Agenda item number 7, approval of recommended routine matters, consent items. 7.2 through 7.10 are inclusive of acknowledgement of a variety of August 2021 financial receipts, reconciliation of investment accounts, summary statements of asset, cash flow performance reports, student activity reports, and tuition receipts. Agenda item number 8.1, recommended routine matters, consent items. 8.2, approval of bills for the month of August 2021, General Fund, Internal Service Fund, Capital Reserve Fund, and the Debt Service Fund. New business, 12.4, approval of tuition agreement for non-resident enrollment in accordance with Policy 202. Item number 12.9, approval of shared use agreement with East Coventry Township. 12.10, approval of intent to award district-wide service center project bids as presented. 12.11, an approval and/or ratification of professional services and/or maintenance agreements inclusive of earth engineering for required third-party testing services, and the previously mentioned Giza Energy Savings CM3 Building Solutions, subject to solicitor and final detail specifications approval. That's my report. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mrs. Booth. Item 6.3, Chester County Intermediate Unit, Mrs. Munson.
Thank you. The Chester County Intermediate Unit has not met since our last meeting, and their next meeting is this Wednesday, October 20th at 7:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6.4, Curriculum and Special Education Committee, Mrs. Stutzman.
Thank you. The Curriculum Committee met as part of the working session on October 11th, and there were 4 agenda items that we discussed. First, Dr. Soter reviewed the requirements and timeline for the comprehensive plan process. And as a Phase 3 school district, the board is required to approve a plan and submit it to the Department of Education this coming March 2022. The plan will include long-term goals and a series of reports about the academic and student services that the district provides. A stakeholder group will be meeting to provide input about the long-term goals, and the group will be comprised of students, teachers, parents, administrators, and community members. The first meeting is this week, and an update will be available next month. Dr. Manahan provided an update on Act 13, which outlined changes to the teacher and administrator evaluation system, and the majority of teachers' evaluations is comprised of evidence from both observations and classroom instruction. Mr. Richardson reviewed student assessment data from the AP and IB examinations from last spring, and as was seen in many schools, there was a decrease in the number of students who chose to complete AP and IB courses and take the examinations. And there are systems in place now to encourage students to challenge themselves with these courses and tests moving forward. Dr. Soter shared the current interim assessment data for K through 8 for ELA and mathematics. This included test results from IXL and the classroom diagnostic tests, or CDTs. These test results are used by the schools to inform current instruction and to form intervention groups for students who require additional academic support. And we were using them in place of the available data from the state right now. The next curriculum committee meeting is scheduled as part of the board working session on Monday, November 1st at 6 p.m. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6.5, Legislative and Policy Committee, Mrs. Munson.
Thank you. The Legislative and Policy Committee met on September 27th and again during the working session on October 11th, 2021. The items that you'll see under the recommended routine matters that have come out of those are under items 7.9 and 7.10. The 7.10s are deletions of policies in the 400s and 500s. We are undergoing a combination of policies from the 400s and 500s into the 300s. So the idea is eventually we'll be retiring all the 400s and 500s. And then you'll also see a couple of new policies in item 7.9. 236.1 is a new policy on threat assessment, and 718.1 is about therapy dogs in school. There are a number of other policies that appear on there due to the threat assessment wording, just adding threat assessment into those other policies. And then we also did make some changes to 805.2, school security personnel. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6.6, Personnel Committee, Mr. Friel.
The Personnel Committee didn't meet, but the personnel, there is a request here that I think we should bring up during board discussion, and maybe it's appropriate for the policy, the L&P group to revisit policy 428. As you know, we have some positions that are very difficult to find, science, math, speech therapy, things like that to bring in. And the policy 428, for everybody's benefit, it limits the steps that you can bring someone in. So you bring someone in very early in their career. So it precludes us from hiring experienced people in these positions. And we need to, allow our administration team to find some people to fill these hard to find positions and maybe give a little flexibility here to a more market-driven policy on what those step considerations are. So I'll just ask that we kick this over to the L&P committee to readdress 428. And then you'll probably see in our next meeting, this issue actually come up for a particular hire. And we'll have to, be approving that for that at that time. So, and that's it for the Personnel Committee.
All right, we're going to move on to item 7, which is recommended routine matters. 7.1, motion to approve recommended routine matters, consent items 7.2 through 7.10. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Booth, do I have a second? Mrs. Stutzman, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 8, approval of routine matters consent items 8.1, motion to approve routine matters consent items 8.2 through 8.3. 8.2 is approval of bills and approval of bills for the month of August 2021 as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Oh, you know what? It's 8.2 through 8.3, so let me read 8.3 real quick. 8.3 is the approval of meeting minutes. Approval of the meeting minutes as presented for the regular board meeting on September 20th and the working session on October 11th. Do I have a motion for 8.2 and 8.3? Mr. Friel, do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Booth, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 9, board discussion. I did just want to bring up the listening sessions. So in the beginning, you had sent an email out to all OJR parents a couple weeks ago, and then each individual principal is sending out emails to their families as their listening session approaches. I think back at the working session earlier this month, we talked about talking about best ways to communicate out to the general public. I wasn't sure where you guys landed on that.
Correct, yeah. In my Friday communications, I put out an email about the listening sessions and all the dates. And then, as you said, Madam President, each week when we're doing a listening session in a particular building, the principal sends something out as well. We are looking to schedule a general community one, but folks that have reached out to me that can't attend the one that's specific to their school, they can attend any one that they want. So we're just looking to get feedback. But again, it's easy to communicate with our parents because they're in our system, more difficult to communicate with the community at large, but we're looking at social media and other ways that we can promote that.
Okay.
That'll be sometime in early December,
For
community one.
the general community, okay.
Yeah,
And
can I ask a quick question while we're on email? How did you select the group of email for the parents? Because we didn't receive one.
It was in the Friday email that goes out with the dashboard.
And that goes to the parents?
The entire,
Everybody?
all the families in the community.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe we can follow, because I know we didn't receive one. We checked twice.
Yeah.
And we were with a group of football parents, and they didn't receive it either.
Okay.
So maybe we can just verify.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
then I do have a quick comment on content. So You mentioned that we talk about the district goals. Now, that's kind of just a purview in the very beginning where we talk about district goals, and some of the district goals revolving around equity. But there is specific questions geared towards equity and what that looks like in our district, correct?
Yeah, correct. We have 5 open-ended questions now. It's not specific to equity, but they're open-ended questions. So in all the sessions we've had so far, the topic of equity has come up in student and parent experiences in our district. So there's not a specific equity question, but those 5 open-ended questions are designed just to elicit responses from folks that
And
are
we get
participating.
general, it's conversation, basically, from the community.
Correct, and we're keeping track of all the conversations, and then we'll have an aggregate report once we're done all the listening sessions.
That we will present out to the
Yep.
community.
Correct.
Is there a reason why we wouldn't just publish a link to the list of all the listening sessions and put it on the website so everybody would know where it's at?
Yeah, we need to do that. And as I was sitting
That way,
here,
if people are like,
yeah,
they can't go to their school, but they're wondering where one is that they can make, they're all there in one place.
yeah, after the public comment, I pulled up a document that I have that has them all on it. That's something we need to post, so we can
Okay.
do that. Yep.
Awesome. Did you have something?
I would just like to make a comment on what Mr. Friel was speaking of in reference to creating flexibility for our administration to hire difficult-to-hire personnel. We have had a lot of retirements during the pandemic and since, and we don't want to set precedents that are hard to live up to financially, but we do need to provide flexibility for administrators, especially at this time when it's really hard to find people. So I am in full agreement of that, and we will discuss that at length. So thank you, Mr. Friel. That is something we do need to do.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have to be aware of the financial implications of anything, but those are tough things. Maybe we'll have to implement the NFL cap system, and you'll have to trade somebody, Will, and to get the new people in.
Anyone else? No? Okay. All right, we're going to move on to item 10, which is old business. Do we have any old business, Mrs. Crumrine?
No, Madam President, no old business this evening.
Okay, thank you. All right, item 11 is new business, approval of personnel matters consent items. The board will make a motion to approve the following personnel matters, which are items 11.2 through 11.10 as action consent items to the proviso as presented. So just questions. Does that mean that I don't have to read the entire paragraph?
Exactly, you do not
Perfect.
need to read the entire
Thank
paragraph.
you.
That's printed.
All right, do I have a motion? Mr. Friel, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Deal, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 12, new business. 12.1, approval of conference attendance. Approval of conference attendance as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. DeFore, do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Booth, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 12.2, approval of student activity club advisors and student officers. Approval of student activity club advisors and student officers in accordance with the provisions of Section 511 of the Pennsylvania School Code for the 21-22 school year as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. DeFore, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Deal, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 12.3, approval to establish a student activity. Approval to establish a student activity in accordance with the provisions of Section 511 of the Pennsylvania School Code and School Board Regulation 122A or 122B as presented. The approval also provides for the establishment of accounts within the school activity accounting system when applicable. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Booth, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Deal, any discussion?
We always enjoy as many student activities as we can afford, so this is welcome news to me.
And I'm especially proud of the Give a Gift Club, and I hope they will, reach out to the community so that we could, help them out too. So it just shows, the compassion of our kids. So thank you, kids.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 12.4, approval of tuition agreement for non-resident enrollment in accordance with policy 202. Approval of a tuition agreement for non-resident enrollment for Student A, Student B, and Student C in accordance with Policy 202, pupils' eligibility of non-resident students for the 21-22 school year as presented. Do I have a motion? Mr. Friel, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. DeFore, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 12.5, resolution of expulsion, approval of resolution of expulsion for student 21-2201 for the remainder of the 21-22 school year as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Malnazek and
Second.
Mr. Deal is my second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 12.6, ratification of homebound instruction. Ratification of homebound instruction as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Booth, do I have a second?
Second.
Dr. Malnazek, any discussion?
I just have a very quick comment. Having been a parent who received this assistance for a rather lengthy length of time, it is invaluable to the student who is at home. And I appreciate us doing that because a lot of schools don't do it. So thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 12.7, approval of confidential settlement agreement and release. Approval of a confidential settlement agreement and release for students 21-2202 as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Deal, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. DeFore, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 12.8, approval of confidential settlement and release. Approval of a confidential settlement agreement and release for student 21-2203 as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Booth, do I have a second?
Second.
Dr. Malnazek, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 12.9, approval of a shared use agreement with East Coventry Township. Approval of a shared use agreement with East Coventry Township, subject to solicitor and final detail project approvals as presented. The approval of this agreement is being recommended by the Finance, Buildings, and Grounds Committee for their October 11th, 2021 working session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Booth, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. DeFore, any discussion?
I would just like Mr. Subers to weigh in if he thinks there's any issue with the shared use agreement.
No, I've already submitted my comments to the business office, and the agreements are being presented to the township, I'm assuming is revised. So, yeah, there's no problem.
Okay, thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 12.10, approval for intent to award of bids for the District Service Center project. Approval for intent to award of bids for the District Service Center project as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Booth, Dr. Malnazek is my second.
Yep.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 12.11, approval and/or ratification of professional services and/or maintenance agreement. Approval and/or ratification of professional services and/or maintenance agreements as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Malnazek, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. DeFore, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, item 13, public comment. Information, proposals, and statements from individuals or delegations pertaining to any item. Speakers are to indicate your name and township of residence. Speakers will be limited to not more than 3 minutes. Please understand that this is not a time for dialogue with the board. Rather, the board will listen to all comments and consider them in future deliberations. And then as a reminder, our email address is listed there. And then a guideline for anyone on Zoom, please use the raise hand function. And when it's your turn to speak, please state your name and township of residence.
Madam President, we have one person, 2 people on Zoom. Sabo?
Hello, this is April Sabo from North Coventry Township. I'm just sorry. I'm just talking today about Day of Hope. We had Day of Hope in partnership with the North Coventry Police Department Sweating Over Suicide on October 9th. It was a very successful event where the North Coventry Police, the Mental Health Advocacy Committee, and the Acceptance, Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Committee, both parent committees at OJR partnered, and we were able to have over 75K runners. We had over 30 fun run kids come and run and win awards. We had great food, band, and community partners. It was a really great morning, and just to help end the stigma around mental health and suicide. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. The next person is Lisa Yost. Lisa, please give your full name and township of residence.
Hi, this is Lisa Yost from South Coventry Township. I just wanted to make a comment regarding the facilities projects that were discussed last week in the working session, as well as briefly discussed today. I did hear a lot last week in the working session around what we all know around supply chain concerns, timing of these programs, and all the challenges that we all face for any building projects that we're doing in our homes or our jobs or anything like that. I would just encourage the board and the district, when we're writing those contracts, to look at some specific timelines associated with deliverables and potentially financial penalties associated with those. We do want to make sure that these projects get completed, particularly with some of the work around the old East Vincent. These aren't projects that necessarily add to the value of our school district. So I think as a taxpayer, most of us are hoping that these do not run over. And the bids, as I saw last week, are very high. So I would just encourage the district, when you're working on the contracting there, to build in some safeguards to ensure that they don't go higher or drag out longer than they need to. And as always, thank you to the board and the school directors for all of your work here. You're doing a phenomenal job, so thank you for that.
Thank you for your comment.
So Julia Harthway again, North Coventry. I think we're all aware of the letter that the National School Board Association sent to the president and the request, that extraordinary request, that certain enforcement actions utilizing various federal statutes, including the Patriot Act, be used at parents' meetings. I was extremely pleased to see that the Pennsylvania Board Association quickly denounced their association or withdrew from being associated with the National School Board Association based on this act and what I gathered to be a number of things in the past. But the National School Board Association implies in their letter that they represent all of you. They use words on behalf of our state associations and more than 90,000 school board members. This is not us, this is not this board, and it is not this community. I've been now to a number of meetings. Everyone's been respectful. Everyone's been attempting in the best manner possible to get across ideas. I would strongly urge this school board to also, in no uncertain terms, disassociate yourself from the National School Board Association and the actions they recently took, trying to invoke federal law at some of these school board meetings. I also want to point out, if you look again at the equity policy, both the National School Board Association and the Pennsylvania School Board Association wording on equity is very similar to the wording adopted by OJR in their policy. Actually, the National School Board does give a definition, and they say it means different things to different people, so they define it. We did not, this board, that policy does not actually define it. You can interpret things, but it's not in the definition. It appears that a large part of this equity policy was generated from outside sources, not internally at this community. I think all of the board members should look again at this policy with that in mind and with the actions of the National School Board also in mind. Lastly, I was trying to understand the problem of that such a policy would be needed for, attended a policy meeting. It doesn't seem to be well defined. I asked for some.
And that would be
my
3
time-
minutes. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Heather McCreary, and I just wanted to say, Dr. Stout, thank you. I'm wearing the band shirt tonight, 50 years, and I have to say that was a great night for the alumni that were here. We had a super time, so thank you for doing that and helping Mr. Mingle do that for everybody. And also, I'd like to put a plug in for anybody that has not signed up to take a turn in the concession stand for the Roberts Athletic Association. Please do so. You can see myself or Ms. Blute in the back there to sign up. We need volunteers.
Hi, Nick Rotoli, West Vincent Township. I wanted to say a few words about the equity policy. I think the longer you leave the district goals and how they intersect with the equity policy ambiguous, the longer the public is going to read into that whatever they want. I hope you're looking into such equity issues as, why are there so few national merit scholars for a district so rich in resources? Are there unnecessary prerequisites for AP courses, for instance? Are there considerations to analyze the data to increase minority participation? Also regarding AP courses, are there ways of increasing participation of women in courses like AP Physics, AP Calculus, etc.? Are there ways of bridging the achievement gap for ELA students in the district? Are there ways of increasing the achievement gap of students who are moving in from lower socioeconomic districts to catch them up for kids who have had the benefit of being in O.J. Roberts from K to 12? These are all equity issues, and I think these are equity issues that would have the general support of the public. And I hope you're considering that under this general banner of the equity policy. Thank you.
Greg O'Hanson, North Coventry. I've been listening to these school board meetings for quite a while now, and I just can't keep my mouth shut anymore. Let me paint you a couple pictures here. You're at the zoo, you're looking through the glass at a tiger. It's all adults standing up in front of the glass, and you realize there's a child behind you. Do you put the child in front of you? Let me give you another picture. You're sitting in a restaurant in the waiting room, and you have a seat, there's no other chairs in the place, and a man walks in with one leg, on crutches, wearing a hat that says United States Marine Corps. Do you get up and give him your seat? If you answered yes to these questions, you're in favor of equity. That's what equity is. Equality says, sorry kid, not my problem. Sorry, Mr. Veteran, I was here first. There's a lot of confusion around this word. And 5 years ago, if I had come in here talking about equity, people would have said to me that I was talking about the value of my house above what I owe on it. The definition of equity is fairness in the way we treat people. This definition I got from the Merriam-Webster's dictionary. You want to tell me that it means equal outcomes? No problem. Tell me what dictionary you got that from. You didn't get it from a dictionary. That's national politics. At this school, I was taught to think critically. I was taught to debate. The number one rule is that you don't just believe what you're told, you research it, you verify it. The number two rule is that if someone is saying something that you're debating that is incorrect, you don't silence them. You invite them to keep saying it. The idea that equity is discriminatory and evil is national politics. It comes from DC, it comes from California, it comes from Washington State, it does not come from North Coventry, Pennsylvania, it does not come from this school board. That is not the purpose of this equity policy. Want to keep politics out of the school? So do I. Look around you and realize equity is our daily practice. It's a good thing. A wheelchair ramp is equity. Stairs with no ramp is equality. I learned these things, these critical thinking, these debate skills here at Owen J. Roberts from one of my favorite teachers, Brad Cresswell. I'm proud to have been one of his students. I have a daughter in North Coventry Elementary. I hope she gets to be one of his students. When I was asked for my lifetime about where I'm from, I told people about a place where if you had a flat tire, everyone stopped to help you. Every person that drove by you would stop and make sure you were okay. Let's not let national politics come in between all of us, because that's all that this is. Equity is just a word. It's defined in every dictionary you want to look in.
Thank you for your comments.
My name is Kara Shantz. I'm from North Coventry. I've had 3 students in Owen J. Roberts, and I also did look at the website of Make OJR Great Again, and I was saddened by that website and how brutally attacking I felt that it was. I recognize Brad Cresswell's statement because I remember being at the back to school, and he was saying that he didn't strictly teach from a textbook. He taught from other perspectives too. And that year was the first year that I started having really great conversations with my son about different perspectives and what we're used to here at ONJ. It was a positive experience, and I hope that other teachers hold themselves in the same esteem as Brad Cresswell does. He was a fantastic teacher for my students, my kids. The other thing that I wanted to also note is there was something suggesting that teachers that support LGBTQ on their websites. I have 2 sons, and both of their good friends came out during their time at Owen J. Roberts, and they needed that support that's in the schools. One of them came out middle school years, another one came out high school years, and when they didn't have a group of children or peers to support them, they had teachers to go to, and they needed those teachers. We have a lot of LGBTQ students, so to downplay the importance of the acceptance role with our leaders in the schools, I think is a very sad and terrible thing to do to kids that need that kind of support at their age. I also just want to say, I think OJR has always been great. I think they're still great. I think we all do a good job. I know that we have different perspectives, but I think holding respect when we talk to people, including the school board, is also very important. Thank you.
We do have one more on Zoom. Christine McAfee, please state your full name and township of residence.
Hi, this is Christine McAfee from North Coventry Township. And I just wanted to say, well, now I wanted to say bravo to the last 3 speakers for what they said. They said it so much better than I could. And I also wanted to just point out something that I think earlier everyone was talking about how we couldn't find the listening sessions, but I also believe that they were communicated on the calendar for the township or for the school board or school district. So I think that's where I actually found them. I had to communicate them to someone. So I thought they were pretty easy to find. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. But I'm going to hold back the rest of my comment because the last 3 people, Mr. Bertoli, Mr. Henson, and Mrs. Shantz, just did a phenomenal job. So I'm just going to let their words speak for it. But thank you for all the work you guys do.
Thank you for your comment.
Good evening, board members. Colleen Blute, North Coventry, East Coventry Township. I just have one question for you. It's on item agenda 1110. Approval of the following school wellness champions. You have all your elementary schools listed there. But where is the role model for the boys? They're all female champions. There's no male opinion there. Just some food for thought.
We have Jessica Marzella. Please give your full name and township of residence.
Jessica Marzella, North Country Township. I don't attend very many school board meetings just because I feel that it's very I feel it's very disruptive and very disrespectful to the people that make their comments, and I really don't think that the matters are being taken care of. In regards to my comments, I am a runner in the mornings I run at the school in the mornings, and I have to say that there is a big trash problem that is just not being taken care of. And also that I had found during my morning runs some crushed up alcoholic beverage cans on the grounds of, it was in front of the main entrance to the gymnasium parking lot. I was very disgusted on that, and it wasn't even taken care of after I had mentioned that to the school board, the principals of the school. So what are you going to do in regards to picking up the trash on a more daily basis than more than a weekly or monthly basis? And also, with me being a morning runner, I do wear very reflective, bright colored shirts so people can see me. Also, they do not abide by the rules of the road or the campus. They zoom in at 20 to 30 to 40 miles an hour on campus. They don't stop at stop signs. So what are you going to do about that? Thank you.
That's the end of public comment, Madam President.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on to item 14, board discussion and follow-up. Just wanted to touch on that last comment, Mrs. Crumrine. I think your area has been addressing the concerns with trash. I don't know if you want to comment on it.
Yes. We are addressing the concerns with trash on the campus outside. Our priorities are the inside of the schools because we are, just like everyone else, short-staffed. So we are doing the best that we can. We can also take a look at this from the building level, and we can work with the principals too, with the current maintenance staff to assist. So we'll reach out with that as well.
And then in terms of traffic, I know that there was another person put out on, I think, Cadmus Road.
Yes.
I'm not sure what that looks like actually on campus.
Right, and I'm not sure if she's talking about the mornings, but I think it may be the morning. There's a lot of traffic on the campus in the mornings, so I'm not sure, Dr. Stout, if you want to add with respect to speeding. I'm not seeing the
John
ability to
Metzger's not
speed.
here this evening. John could provide some insight. When we hear concerns, I'll give you an example. We were hearing some concerns about for a youth baseball program after school where parents were just parking in the middle of the road, letting kids run out. It was a safety problem. So we addressed that with the organization. They took care of that issue. So as we hear things, we certainly will address it. But the day-to-day traffic, I can tell you when I started here, that was the biggest concern that I heard. I was fearful to be out there that first day. I think considering the amount of traffic on our campus, I think our folks do a really good job. That's not to say we can't get better. So if there are concerns, just share it with us and we'll work through our security and try and get better.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, just following up, because I know this issue actually with the trash came up last year, and I do think it's one of those things we have to solve. And I know we talked about changing and allowing, you know, with COVID, we put a lot of folks on at night and we ran different shifts last year. So it was super difficult to try to get our arms around it. We made some changes this year, right? So
We're still having housekeeping on the day shift as well at the request of the principals.
okay. So we haven't
We're
fully.
still in COVID.
So we haven't fully made that shift that we were going to,
No,
we were planning to
we
do.
haven't been able to do that yet.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess I would say if you can go back, if there's any outside resource we can use to help us beef this up.
We are trying. I agree. And I would also just encourage, and I may be preaching to the choir, for people not to leave trash behind. It would be very, very helpful if our community members could also help us not leave trash behind. It would be helpful.
Yeah, as we've heard, we are short-staffed in many places, bus drivers among them, and also maintenance people. So yes, we are aware that we have not been able to deal with the trash as adequately as we would like, but it's also up to the community and to the members, community members who leave that trash there to behave in a more respectful manner of their own property. So I appreciate the complaint, but I think we all need to share, all of us in the entire school district, need to share in the respect of our own properties and take care of it. The only thing I guess I could ask, having been on facilities for the last 8 years, do we have enough trash cans out there so that people can deposit their own trash?
We do,
As
we
I
do.
thought.
And we'll work on it. We can always improve. We'll absolutely work on it.
Only thing I would offer, are there any clubs, any social organizations, any groups that could provide some public service, at least in the interim here?
And Mr.
until
Deal,
we
that is
can-
exactly what was happening prior to COVID.
Yeah, I just don't
And
know
that is
now
really
where
what
people
helped
are.
keep our campus, helped us with that.
Yeah.
So it hasn't, that hasn't been reinstated. because
Maybe we
we're-
could reach out and just see if anybody's changed their, approach to it yet. But
Sure.
just a
Well,
thought.
we got Mr. Kohler right there, so we can ask
You know,
him
we
to
also have
take a-
Sarah over here from student government,
Oh,
which
yes.
I
That's
think we should
right.
put Sarah on the spot, and maybe you
That's
could take this
right.
back to your team and see what clubs and stuff is out there.
So
Sorry,
the only other thing, good point raised on the wellness grant, that there are no male representatives there. I'm not sure how people are selected. It looks like a lot of nurses from our district, so I don't know if that's just an option to consider for the future.
And I would just add that on the equity listening sessions front, I mean, usually I'm traveling during the week, so I don't make many of the in-persons, but I try to make the dial-ins. I think we could use more attendees, and I also think that, if you come to the monthly board meeting thinking that we're going to hash this out, one side versus the other, at a public voting board meeting, it really isn't the most effective way to do it. What I've found is that those listening sessions actually do allow not only us to listen, but they allow people to listen to one another. So we can kind of hear what people are thinking and talking about, no matter what your viewpoint is. So it just, to me, it's a little bit discouraging because I know there's a lot of separation in the community, and yet there are these sessions available to listen to one another, but it seems a struggle to get people to attend sometimes. So I would just, again, maybe if you missed yours already, maybe if we put this list somewhere where people can find it, you can jump on another one somewhere, but whatever your voice is, it does need to be heard. And those are the places for it to be heard, because out of that comes the approach to what we want this policy to do, or what the problems are that we're seeking to overcome. So
And I
just
think,
a
we
general
talked
comment.
about this at one of the sessions is, all the sessions that we did last year really fueled a lot of the goals that were picked for this school year, and what concerns we heard. So, it is really important. I really think these listening sessions are huge, and we should continue them, go forward throughout every school year, because it's a really great way to hear from the community.
Yeah, and I think, to follow up John's point, the more you can get people to encourage to come to these, and the structure is not different than last year much. It's not like we're asking, hey, what's equity mean? We're saying, what's your experience at ONJ? How do you fit in? Do you feel included? Do you feel part of this? How do we make you successful? Are there any barriers to success? these are the questions we're trying to answer as a board that sort of fueled into this thing. And I think when you're listening to it in those ways, you'll see there's a lot of common themes that come up, and it's really been driving what we're doing there. So hopefully we can get some more people to come out, and I think they'll be, pleasantly surprised, hopefully, on what we're doing.
I have a comment for Mrs. Crumrine. The Zoom caller had a very good point, and I'm sure you're already on it about timelines for the contracts for the various projects. But what do you think about this issue of a backup of supplies, and how do you think that's going to affect these
Sure.
various companies?
A couple of things. In our contracts, we do have delay damage penalties that are imposed on the vendors and the contractors. So I want to rest assured that we do have that included in the contract. So every day that they're late, there's a penalty, a financial penalty imposed on that. That being said, there are supply chain issues. We can all see it. There's ships and containers and tankers sitting out in the ocean. We have, I should say, accelerated the goals for these two projects so that we have them before you now, so that we can order the equipment. So for example, the equipment we're most concerned about would be the chillers, right, through the energy project, pieces of equipment like that. The LED work, that's not going to be an issue, but getting that lead time in for the chillers that need to be ordered. So that's why we're doing it now this fall, so that if we get the orders in this month, then hopefully by the summertime. Our vendors are telling us don't order any later than January or February. So we're ordering even earlier. So we are well aware of those issues. It's a concern.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's good to know too, maybe Jackie, just, one of the reasons we did the energy project, it's fixed price. There is no change orders. The way it's scoped and the way the law was written, there's no scope creep, there's no change order, there's no, oh, we forgot this. That project gets done, and that's the amount of money it is, period. So.
Yeah, I would like to add, having been involved in this type of contract with the school district for the last 8 years, that we do our due diligence in all of these matters, and the contracts are written to protect the school district. And if Mr. Subers would like to weigh in on any of that, and do you have anything else to say?
I
But
mean,
we do protect ourselves.
There's multiple provisions in the contract documents to address the issue of timely delivery. The substantial completion dates are specified. The bidders were aware of these dates on your service center project and built that into their bidding. And then on the guaranteed energy savings contract, another big benefit of that is you get to select not only a vendor that you're confident in. And you've worked with CM3 before, and they have a good performance record.
Right, and unknown to many people, we do have to work under PDE law. We have to take the lowest responsible bidder, and we do our due diligence to make sure they're all bonded, and they are reviewed by people who have used them before. But there's no guarantee they will always come through, but those are the laws we have to live under, which is not true of private industry or even smaller governmental units. We have a monetary limit to when we have to use prevailing wage, and that is Philadelphia wage. Because of our location, we are contingent upon the city of Philadelphia, so we have the highest prevailing wage that we have to deal with. That is law. That is not our choice to do that. So I just want the public to know that. We're very diligent in how we award these contracts. We do get burned every once in a while, but it's because we have to live within the law that we are a PDE law and their rules. As I said, it took us several years to get our Plan Con money back, and we spent a lot of money just doing the work to even get the Plan Con money back. So I just want the public to know we're very diligent. Mrs. Crumrine knows the ins and outs of all of these issues, and I have learned them painfully through the last 8 years. So whoever that caller was, I appreciate the question, and I just wanted to expound a little bit upon that. But thank you. And I thank the board for going through with these projects. They will pay off for this district for a long time. And I'm happy to have sat here in this position, but I just wanted to let people know we are careful about what we do. We don't just go at it willy-nilly. Anyway, thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to item 15, which is board requests for information. Any requests?
Oh, I have one request. I know we have a dashboard with the COVID numbers, but we did get a very hopefully promising notice from Dr. Stout that we are headed in the right direction. And hopefully we can discuss, or excuse me, in the next month or so, we can discuss the mask requirement of our students and staff. I'm very hopeful that we may get to the point where we are not in the substantial range. Can you expound on that a little bit? It was a very good message. I was very hopeful.
Yeah, well, right now, I mean, what we're hearing from the Chester County Health Department is that the numbers seem to be declining, and that's the trend that they expect. However, we're still under the governor's order at this point. So we're still following that. At the point where the governor's order would be rescinded, or I guess rescinded is the proper word eventually, then we would go back to our existing plan, which does call for masking based on the level within Chester County.
Right. I just wanted to touch base on that because we had promised we would talk about it again in a month, and it's a month later. So thank you anyway. That's all I have.
Any more requests? All right, we're going to move on to item 16, which is adjournment. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.